Hello everyone. Um, I'll just waiting for the screen sharing access and I'll start. Leah, please help me with the screen sharing access.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
thank you so much. So we were talking. I hope everybody can see the screen and they can also like listen to my voice.
Yeah, done.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. And let's finish this up, okay? So we'll talk about the market basket analysis, where we have seen that a lot of people have actually seen this. They end up spending a lot of amount in the supermarket because they end up buying a lot of things. And this is something which is actually been driven by data science, wherein you have the placement of the products in such a way that people end up buying more. So there are several things which you get to hear that like if some people are buying bread, they're also buying milk. Some people who are buying like the eggs, they are also buying bread, and so on and so forth. If you create those kinds of association, you will see that a lot of market has been captured by all these things, right? So you might have also seen the similar pins, and what the similar pins means that you, when you search for something, a similar kind of products always arise. So I am sure that you might have seen something in Pinterest where if you have certain products, if you search for certain products, your machine learning algorithms are able to identify that these are the food products. They are not like dolphins. So you might have seen that this has been happening across the website, all the places. Face recognition is some of one of the application which has been which has hampered, or which you can say that affected our life. So you can see the application of face recognition all over the devices, and a lot of things are happening in face recognition, wherein we are allowing the people to mark their attendance in face recognition, and we are allowing the people to get in after their face is getting recognized. This is one of my favorite feature. We'll talk about people you may know, which you might have seen that people, you are able to connect with the people who are like-minded, people who are actually belong to same training space, or people who belong to similar kind of job roles. And you can also connect with your potential employers. So this is one of the reason why LinkedIn has become so big, right? It becomes approximately 19 billion evaluation of the product. So you can see that it's one of the greatest thing because of data analysis and data. So they're able to collect a lot of data for the people who belong to a particular domain, right? And also you get to see that in your emails, when you talk about emails and malware filtering, you get to see a lot of applications are using this, wherein they wanted to separate the emails from emails like whether their emails are legitimate or not legitimate email. They are separating all those emails, and then based on certain probabilistic feature, they are able to identify whether the email is a legitimate email or it's a spam. So they can all like find out that spam probability of some email address being spam, and they can put that spam thing in the spam folder. I'm sure you might have like identified that. Right, Pratik, that's correct. You've got a lot of promotional emails where people capture and buy your email address, and they try to send you some links about the like like malwares or viruses, or like some ransomware through emails, or they want you to click on something called as phishing, which is also can be filtered out by this machine learning technique. So this is being useful there as well. uh, Product recommendation is something which you always use, and if you go to any shopping website, or you go to any place where people are supposed to like sell you something, they end up doing two things, right? They do cross selling and they do upselling. And when you talk about cross selling, there like people wanted to sell a different product altogether. For example, if you're buying a television which is very costly, the website will try to recommend you that you should buy a stabilizer, which will make sure that your device is safe with the electric shock. Also, if you go with like if you end up like if you wanted to buy a television of 32 inches, they will try to convince you so that you can try and buy something which is 44 inches or 54 inches, right? So they try to upsell the things for you, right? So you can spend more rather than spending the limited amount. Online fraud detection is one of the technique which has been very popular in bank, and all the BFSI industries. They are the people who are like very much nowadays using this. They've been using it for a while now, but they've been using it for I guess decades, wherein they try to identify whether some transaction is fraud or not. And we are living in the age where the online transaction happens in couple of seconds, so they have very short time to identify whether something is fraud or not. So they always wanted to use this technology so that they can detect the fraud in less than 1 second, and they have got very short amount of time to identify that. And machine learning and data science are there to help them out, and they can identify, like, out of millions of transactions, they can detect whether this fraud, some transaction is legitimate or it's a fraud detection. Disease identification, where machine learning is being using like anything. If you've come across this, a lot of algorithms are now created in order to identify whether something is like somebody is suffering from a certain disease, and these predictions are 17% more accurate than the people, like the doctors who are practicing for 20 years. So some of the cases where doctors are not able to identify, they were approximately 63% accurate in predicting any disease. However, machine learning started from 87% of accuracy, and it tend to grow more to identify a certain disease. So like cancer prediction or tumor prediction or different kind of other disease, we use a lot of machine learning techniques to identify whether something is suffering from this disease or not. So they are much more accurate as compared to the doctors who are having like approximately 20 years of experience. So this is one of the greatest application. Nowadays, you also see personalized treatment. So a lot of like people who've got some wearables where they can track their heartbeat, they can track their blood pressures, and can also send the distress signals or emergency signals to the doctor, where doctor can identify that what kind of problem a patient may get based on their history, and they can call the patient's relatives or patient themselves to identify whether there's somebody suffering from a disease, and they can actually give them immediate suggestions so that that person's life can be saved. So this is one of the very like I would say awesome thing which has been done by machine learning. So you can see that data science and machine learning is impacting our life in almost all possible domains. Clinical trial research, where when we wanted to look for any vaccine or we are looking for any medicine, we take around 15 to 20 years to develop a medicine. Now with the help of machine learning and artificial intelligence, we are able to reduce this time to 3 years. Now, even with the COVID situation, we are trying to identify that whether we have like we can identify we can run some trials and try to get the vaccine with a much better pace. I would suggest everyone to please mute yourself so that we cannot like we'll be able to run this. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Right, and if you just look for character recognition, right? Character recognition is one of the application which has been like in use for a while now. It has been used to identify the several patterns in the handwritten Yes, correct, Pratik. It's OCR documents is being used, and then they are also trying to identify the number plate recognition, identifying a person's different languages. There are several applications which can convert Japanese to English or English to Hindi or Hindi to Japanese, and there are multiple applications which are there, which are based out of machine learning. Now, what are the ways we talk about? What are the ways, like if you wanted to apply data analytics, in your organization, what are the fundamental steps you will follow, right? And we wanted to pick up those things. There are 7 steps which typically you follow, right? If you wanted to build your analytics project in your organization or in your companies, and the first thing over there is to define the goal, right? What is your goal? Like, what is your business objective? Now, when you talk about business objective, your business objective is to, it could be to reduce the number of people who are leaving the organization, attrition. It could be that improvise sales. It could be improvising profit. It could be like improving the customers' satisfaction. It could be improving the satisfaction of the employees. It could be the improvement of better reach, right? So you can have all those things available in the goal, and then you basically start gathering the data for the same, and then you start cleaning up the data. And after cleaning up the data, we can go for like mining the data, and then we can find out the insight and visualize the data, and then we deploy machine learning and iterate once again, like if required. So these are the several steps which you may want to follow when you are actually going for any analytics plan. So what is this first thing which you want to talk about is called business understanding. Now, business understanding is something which is very crucial for businesses. Like if you do not have business understanding, probably you may not be able to reach your end goal. So what is this business understanding? Business understanding defines the objective before beginning the analysis. So you should not be picking up the data science project and then you start identifying what is my objective. You have to have the clear objective, and based on that, you will decide what analysis to be performed, right? Right. So what you do is basically you will be picking up, right? You will be picking up like define, like you clear key performance indicators, which we call it as KPIs in your organization. You will identify a problem in your industry and the competitive market. You will define the problem statement. You will decide that what will be my outcome. So for example, if I'm trying to deal with attrition problem, we can define our goal as that the industry average for attrition is 15%, and we want to reduce, and our attrition rate is say 22%. We want to reduce our attrition percentage by 8% so that we can be below the market rate. So you can also do that, right? You will test your gut feelings. You will also, like, so when you are in business, you also have some bias attached to it. So we wanted to test those bias, and we wanted to, make sure that whatever bias we have, whether they are coming from the intuition or they're coming from any like heredital, we wanted to test all those intuitions with the help of data analytics. Right. So like here, when we say bias, here bias means not the bias which we use in machine learning. Here the bias means that you have some prejudice based on, like, for your business. For example, if I wanted to open bank branch, I can open it anywhere. I have all the money in the world, but I would, like, if I think that, okay, I will open up a branch of State Bank in somewhere where the people can access more, it's on a highway, probably people might not want to come over there. Now, for example, if I wanted to open a Maruti showroom, I would not be able to open that up in a posh area, right, where the cost of the land is higher, or the renting cost is higher. However, if I am a Mercedes brand, I'll probably try to open up to a place which is costly, where I have the targeted, people who are actually going over there. So if you go, like in Mumbai, if you go to some posh areas like Bandra or something, you will not be able to find a Maruti showroom over there. You will have the car like showrooms like BMW, you will be having something called as Mercedes and all those kind of stuff, right? So you basically know who's your target market, and based on that you can actually take your analysis take off. So this is one thing, right? The second thing is that we need to collect the relevant data. Now what do you mean by relevant data? You have to have the right data collection if you ask the right question. So you need to ask exact questions, right? What am I going to achieve with that? What kind of data I'm looking for? What are my data sources, right? And how do I log everything over there? I have to keep an eye on different key performance indicators which are telling me that yeah, my analysis is going in the right direction, or which will tell me that okay, how much target I need to achieve. So all these things can be the like comes under the collecting the relevant data. We will also create business dashboards. We'll also create like some organized data dashboards or reports which will tell us that what is what, right? 80% of the time is devoted to cleaning and organizing the data, right? So it's one of the most crucial aspects of solving any data science problem, right? We also wanted to invest our time like to a place where we see that we have got right data, because if your input is not correct, your output is not correct at all. So you wanted to invest your time in collecting the right data and organizing data in such a way so that you can test your hypothesis and your biases. Now we talk about 20%. This 20% left out is used in performing analytics and identifying the results and managing the results. The third thing, which is very much popular, is in data science, when you solve any data science problem, is explore and cleaning up your data. And what do you mean by that, right? You have to perform statistical analysis. Now, when you perform statistical analysis, you need to take care of univariate analytics. You always wanted to go for bivariate analytics. You always wanted to go for multivariate analytics. Now, when you perform this univariate analytics and bivariate analytics, you have to use statistical analysis for that. For example, how much variance I have in a particular thing, right? How the salaries are differing from one department to another department. What is an average salary? And lots of analytics where you find out cause and effect relationship, where you found out that there is a simple relationship between two variables. And then you go for multivariate analytics, which comes under machine learning. And there you will try to find out the relationship between the various variables with each other. And then you apply machine learning logic over there. So you begin to analyze your information using the statistical model, and you test different models over there as well. And you start putting your statistical concept and statistical knowledge on that, and you try to infer the data. Now that learning statistical concept will be a little bit easier, but inferring the problems as a business problem is quite difficult. So you perform analytics in 3 steps. And what are those 3 steps? Like you pick up like what has happened, what is happening right now, and what will happen. So, and if you can ask 4 questions with your data, what happened, right? What is the past analytic? What has happened in my data, like with my last year? What has happened in my last year or last quarter or last decade, right? How we have grown. And then you can ask the next question, which is a little bit difficult, right? How or why did it happen? So you have to dig in deep a little bit more in putting in efforts why it has happened. What was the cause of that problem, right? And the third question, which is something which you can ask, is what is happening right now, right? Where exactly we are and how we are going to improve the situation. And the fourth, which is one of the difficult question which you can ask, is what is likely to happen. Notice that here we are not talking about predicting the future, but we are predicting what is likely to happen. And this is a little bit change as compared to like predicting the future. So there is a difference between predicting the future and forecasting the future. So we always tend to forecast the future rather than predicting the future, right? So what are the 3 different kind of analytics you can perform on the data? One is called descriptive analytics, and then the second one is called predictive analytics, and the third one is called prescriptive analytics. So now the descriptive analytics is limited to the previous data, right? When we have the data, which is the past data or historical data, we use this data to understand the trends and evaluate matrices over a period of time, right? This is one of the easiest technique which you can follow, and all SQL queries or business intelligence or any of the dashboard making or any of the report making falls under this category. So you can pick up descriptive analytics to see what has happened in the past. The second one is called predictive analytics, wherein we predict the future trends. Now, it is crucial to remember that predictive analysis only forecasts the future and not actually predicts it with 100% accuracy. Forecasting future trends is, although just one part of predictive analytics, it can also include predicting the values of the missing field in the data and probable impact of the data changes on the future trend. And the next level we go for prescriptive analytics, where we talk about the possible future outcomes. We talk about the probable outcome, right? Most probable outcome if we change the input. So if you keep on changing the input, you'll keep on changing the output as well. So for example, right now, if I see that this year particularly, right? So we say, suppose we take an example of Vicks VapoRub, right? And every year I predicted that I will be able to sell 1 million unit. But this year I have seen that the nature patterns are irregular, and people, like, a lot of rains are coming in not at the predefined time. So I can see that people will fall sick and they will have lots and lots of cough and fever. And then we can predict that the sales of Vicks VapoRub will increase over a period of time. So we can predict those things. And if we keep on changing the input, we can keep on changing our output as well. So you keep on changing your different inputs and keep on predicting alternate futures. And that is something which is called as prescriptive analytics. So this is very popular. Now, if you just look for the graph over here, where we talk about descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics, you can see that in terms of value and difficulty, so we have difficulty on the x-axis and value on the y-axis. And you can see the descriptive analytics is at the lowest end, where the value and the difficulty level both are low. And if you keep on going to the next level, where we have diagnostic analytics and we have different predictive analytics, then probably you will realize that it is getting difficult again and again, right? So you can see that prescriptive analytics is on the top, where we have difficulty and value level both are very high. Guys, please mute yourself so that it will avoid any kind of disturbance in the class. Okay, thank you so much. So we've got multiple ways of dealing with analytics, and then these analytics are based out of the different difficulties levels. Now, descriptive analytics, as I stated earlier, is actually done by SQL queries. You can create graphs, charts, reports, and creating bird eye view. Now, if you talk about bird eye view, what is that bird eye view? You actually wanted to sort the data and presented that data visually in such a way that it looks sorted, right? It looks much more simpler. So what we want to do is we wanted to look for all the data in such a way so that we can represent our whole data in much more sorted way. So we use there something called as business intelligence. Now, what is this business intelligence we are talking about? Now, this business intelligence system are actually taking up raw data from corporate databases, from different sources of data, and which has got heterogeneous systems, which means that they are not limited to RDBMSs. They are not limited to like NoSQL databases. They can come from anywhere. It can be a Twitter data or Facebook data as well. And then this data is cleaned and transformed into a data warehouse where all the values are kept like in a standard format, and we call it as data warehouse. Now these tables, like the different tables or different kind of data is linked together, and then we form the data cube out of those things so that we can like harness the power of data. And then we use BI system, which will talk to these data cubes, and we can request different kind of reports and conduct different kind of analytics to that, right? So we use SQL to harness the power of relational database management system, right? So we use all these things in order to find out any reports or any queries. So so if I have a MySQL system or any other RDBMSs, I would like to fire a query which will give me a basic idea about my data, how these basic things are working. Now, what are the different advantages of business intelligence? One, it will increase the productivity. Second, it will improve the visibility of the processes. So you can have a bird eye view of complete data, and you can zoom in into every data point, and you can actually check like what is impacting what. So we will fix the accountability for it. It will also create bird's eye view. It will also streamline the business processes, and you can also fix accountability of the people who are responsible for a certain like product or certain section. And it provides you the most important thing, which is easy analytics, right? So if you can pick up that data, you can always use that for the easiest kind of analytics which can be performed. So if you want to get into analytics domain, that's a initial step. You should know how to create reports and how to create the charts and how to apply different level of analytics in the data. Now, the fourth step which we talked about in how to apply data analysis is enrich your data set. Now, by enriching my data set, I have multiple things. For example, I need to join different data sets. I need to pick up different missing values, and I need to make sure that the data is complete. I need to find that if I have a certain column which is coming like all the time missing, then probably I need to check for the data source. I need to see that why we are getting the missing values, why we are getting different outliers in the data. What are the specific conditions in which this data is being generated? And then you can treat your biased data, which means that data has got a lot of irregularities. Data has got a lot of problems. And then on the basis of that, you will manipulate our data so that we can get most values out of it. Okay. No, Pratik, they are not necessarily errors always, right? So it's not always the errors. It's just that the data can, even if you like transfer the data from one system to another, like one operating system to another, a lot of things are being involved in the data. Like they're not necessarily errors. So we wanted to identify those things. Like for example, we wanted to identify that if some values, like this could be a typo, this could be the multiple entries for the same thing. Now what happens, say I'm collecting the data from a web form, and people are like filling out that web form for me. Now what happens, like somebody tried to submit a web form, and then he clicked on submit button, and web page did not processed. However, the data has been stored in the databases. Then again he tried filling out the forms, and he did that 4 or 5 times. So in that case, probably we can say that the data is being duplicated many times, right? However, the user has got an impression the data is not being submitted, but it is already submitted multiple times. So you actually wanted to enrich your data set and make sure the data is sufficient enough to get into the predictive model where it can predict certain things for you. And then you build helpful visualization. And what are these visualizations? You generally try to create graph and reports. These graphs are also another way to enrich your data set and develop more interesting features. So they can give you a basic understanding of what is impacting what is growing with what, like X is growing with Y, or Y is growing with X, or X is impacting Y, and after a certain point in time, X dies. There are multiple relationship which you can form. And then you go to the next level where you try to find out the correlations, wherein you can see that if X is growing, Y is growing, if X is growing, Y is not growing and it's diminishing down. There are multiple ways you can apply correlations to that. And then we have cause and effect relationship, right? How they are impacting each other. Then you try to find out some unusual patterns in the data as well. Now, these unusual patterns, when I'm saying unusual patterns, it means that there are certain patterns which you have not think of, but they are appearing in the data set. So you use those patterns to identify, and you use like the statistical analysis to identify those patterns. And then you find out unknown parameters also which are impacting your analysis. So you will have unknown parameters which you can find out with the helpful visualization. So you learn to create graphs. So there are like say 20 types of graphs, and you learn to create like what kind of graph has to be used in what kind of analysis. And then you use predictive analytics, right? And this is where machine learning comes into the picture, right? So you have machine learning algorithm which can help you go a step further and getting the insights of predicting the future trends. You will try to find out the target outcome. You will find like apply different algorithms. You will create several mathematical assumptions and hypotheses, and you test those mathematical assumptions and hypotheses, and you end up creating some models with machine learning. And these models are nothing but your mathematical assumptions which you wanted to check. And then you try to predict the future trend based on certain mathematical computation and statistical computations, and you test those predictions whether they are accurate or not. And last but not the least, you will see the alternate future trends by changing the input. So you keep on changing the input, it will keep on changing the different ways to like it will just keep on telling you the alternate futures. It will keep on telling you that what are the possible outcome which can be used. And the last but not the least, iterate, which means that you may want to revisit your whole concept, because things are growing very fast, things are changing very fast. You will verify your outcome every now and then. So every month or every quarter or every 6 months or every year, you may want to verify that whatever assumptions you have created last month or last year or last quarter, are they still valid, or are they reducing, or like in terms of accuracy, or are they improving over a period of time? And then you reevaluate your mathematical assumptions or your models, and you will repeat the complete step in order to get more and more insights from the data. So this is a continuous process which you may want to put into your organization in order to get more and more insights. Now, how data science helps in almost all domains. So data science is emerging in almost all domains. And why it is emerging? Because data collection is a normal process, and people don't know what to do with that data, right? So everybody is generating data nowadays, like you, me, and everybody who is doing any online activity. We are generating a lot of data. The emails we are receiving, the links we are clicking, the username and password we are putting in, the accounts we are creating, the comments or the likes or some of our interest, whatever we do on the data is being recorded and increase, the data like lake like anything. And then you organizations use it for profitability. They try to identify the user patterns. They try to find out where exactly the interest of the people are lying, where exactly people are heading towards, what they want to do with certain applications. And on the basis of that, they will create new products and offerings, so that they can increase customer satisfaction and can save a lot of time. For example, Airtel used to have lots and lots of calls earlier, and nowadays what they have done is they identified that 80% of the call people ask for like how much package, how much is their bill. So what they have done is they have created an IVR system where you press one and you get to know your balance. And they were able to save thousands of man hours, thousands of like PCs electricity. They are able to save lots and lots of time, and they are also able to save lots and lots of money with that. They also increase customer satisfaction and their profitability at the same time. They are able to give a service to the customers where they can actually check for their account balance, and they are able to check for their the available services and all those kind of things. So they've created a wonderful experience for the customer as well. And this will help them like provide the ease of doing business. When I say ease of doing business, which means that we wanted to have a business which will have less hiccups as compared to the previous business model. So if I'm introducing a product, or if I'm introducing one offering to the customer, is it giving me ease of doing business? Is it helping me out in order to run my all operations in a much better way? And this talks about like the new products creation, improvement on the services, improvement of the way people are handling the stuff, improve the way of doing the whole business. Can we change our business in such a way that the profitability can be increased, customer satisfaction can be increased, and new offerings can be increased? So it always is always dependent upon like how business are impacted with that. So we always wanted to use data science there. Now there are many different analytics which are possible. So these are analytics which are being used in multiple places. For example, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, descriptive analytics. You have cognitive analytics, big data analytics. You can have retail analytics, supply chain analytics, fraud analytics, call analytics, marketing optimization, store assortment. And these analytics are defined on the basis of different domains. So like if you talk about marketing optimization, it's always about the marketing strategy which organizations apply. If you talk about web analytics, the companies who are like very much popular in web analytics, they are using it. If we wanted to use for credit risk analytics, all the BFSIs are using this credit risk analytics. If you talk about fraud analytics, credit card companies and the companies who are dealing with credit card analytics, they are using all those kind of analytics. So a lot of things are happening in this domain, and they are very much popular. However, the basic, if you combine them all together, the basic analytic structure, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, which are same. So you use different names for different kind of analytics, but they're eventually same. Now, there are several industries which are using this like data science as a key tool. And what are these industries? We have farming, where data analytics is being used. And I would like to give you this example, right? So let's say the farmers are not very much tech savvy, and what they do is, so when they get any kind of problem in their farming, for example, there are lots of insects which are like destroying the crop. So what they do is they go to a shop, and there, like, there is a shopkeeper who is also not very much educated. This guy is actually selling them some product which is either useful or not useful. So they are not aware of how to increase the production. Somebody cannot, like, there is no one who can help them out. So what they can do is, like, we've got some apps wherein if somebody will click the photographs of the crops, right, and eventually the crop is being identified. If there is a problem in the crop, that can be identified. If there are any insect who are impacting their farming, it is being analyzed. And as soon as all these things are analyzed, the prospective solutions for that, like the medicine name which can actually remove the insects, some of the fertilizers which can increase the crop yield, can be shown on the app immediately as soon as he clicks the photograph of the crop. So this is how we are using data science and machine learning to optimize these solutions. You've got something called as risk management. You've got something called as retail and trade, aerospace, public policies, telecommunication, education. You've got manufacturing and natural resources, consulting business, manufacturing business, web analytics, IT industry, media advertising, government sector, transportation, marketing optimization, fraud recognition, customer products which are falling under FMCG, banking and finance, healthcare, energy industry, mining and resources industry, transportation, oil and gas, communications, media, and entertainment. There are several industries, including e-commerce, which are using data science as a key domain. And not to tell you like all these things, like, but I hope you might have, some people are from energy domain, some people are from manufacturing domain, some people are from transportation like Ola, Uber. So you might have noticed that we are using a lot of machine learning techniques and data science techniques to identify the new offerings for the customer and increase the profitability. So what are the areas where this whole like industry areas are being utilized? Like, so they often use it for pricing, right? What will be the optimum cost I should keep in my for my product, so that I can increase the pricing, like increase the pricing competitiveness in the market. People use it for profitability, and you can see that it's more than 15%, approximately 16 to 17% of the companies use that for increasing the profitability. There are several ways you can use advanced analytics and leverage the data analysis, and pricing is one of the most popular one. So why this data science is booming right now? Why it was not booming earlier? And there are several reasons for that. And one of the reason is called the storage capacity. Storage capacity means that nowadays the storage is dirt cheap, right? Dirt cheap means that if I wanted to store 1 terabyte of data, I can just spend like $2,000 and I can store 1 terabyte of data. Imagine 20 years back, we were not that much lucky, right? To store 8 to 10 GB of data, we needed to spend somewhere around 4 to 5,000 rupees, right? When we were talking about like when P1 and P3 computers were there. So this was very, very costly back then. And nowadays it is dirt cheap. I can store 1,024 terabyte of data in less than 2,500 rupees. Again, we have got lots and lots of data. So quality of data is also increased a lot, right? We are getting some data through which we can make out some inferences. We can find out some inferences from the data. Then quantity of data is being increased drastically, which means that everybody is generating data. So you won't believe that every day you are generating at least 10 MB to 1 GB of data by clicking the photograph, by going to some places, by clicking on several accounts, by logging into several websites, by viewing some pictures and videos on YouTube, while searching something on Google, by using your mobile. Even if you don't use your mobile phone for a day, even then it is tracking your location, and then you're like, even then you are generating a lot of data. So whatever you do in the web, it is generating data. And this data, just think about the people, like billions of people who are generating 1 MB of data every day. It's actually gone to petabytes of data which is being generated. And people do a lot of data abusing as well, right? So we send a lot of emails, we send a lot of messages, we send a lot of pictures and GIFs and all those kind of stuff. Then the main reason why we are able to harness the power of data with data science is the processing power. Right now, we have processors which are very much capable of dealing with the kind of data we have, right? So right now, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, i9 processors are there, which like with 10th generation. And then we have a lot of GPUs, which are able to harness a lot of data, like can do a lot of data analysis and harness the power of data. And we, all in all, like beyond all these stuff, we have tools. We have tools like Hadoop, we have tools like Spark, we have tools like NoSQL, which can not only store the data, but they can also process the data as well. You've got lots and lots of tools. There are like, I guess there are like more than 200 or 300 tools which are used for data analysis worldwide, and they are able to harness the power of data with just a click, right? You can just click and then drag and drop options, and then you can take the advantage of all the data. Now, if you want to do capture this data science as a skill, what you need to have, right? So what are the basic foundations of data science as a skill? So basic thing, you need to have the statistics as a base for anything into analytics. And on the top of that, you have got machine learning and optimization techniques to predict something. Well, guys, so we will be having a question answer sessions. Once I'm finished up with the things, I will be able to answer your questions as well. So don't worry, we'll have a separate like approximately 15 to 20 minutes of session where I'll be taking up your question and answer it. Okay, so don't worry about that. So we have statistics in machine learning optimization where we can start our understanding about the data and we can see what inferences can be drawn. The second thing which you wanted to have is the programming skills. Like, so you should not be like pro at the programming is, but you should have intermediate level of programming skills, and you need to have computer science fundamentals, right, in order to have something like if you wanted to extract some knowledge, because you wanted to use the tools which can give you mathematical concept as well as the programming concept. And then you have the visualization techniques. So there are several visualization techniques which you should know, and you have to have the off the shelf toolboxes which can help you like identify the patterns in the data. And the most important thing above all is that you should have the business and domain knowledge. As I explained earlier, business and domain knowledge is something which are open secrets in their respective domain. For example, in banking domain, there are several open secrets which you get to know when you are working in that domain. If you're not working in that domain, you are not aware of those domain. E-commerce has got their own open secrets. Like retail industry has got their own open secrets, right? Which when you're working on those things, you get to know. And then you should have some big data cloud and cloud computing techniques. Like when you say big data, you should know some of the tools like Hadoop and Spark, NiFi, and then you have Apache Storm, and then you have Kafka. All those things are helping you in gathering not only the insights from like static data, or I would say historic data, but also it can help you pick up some information from the streaming data, the data which is being generated immediately. And one of the most important skill which you should have, which people do not focus on, is communication and storytelling, which means that you should know how to present your analysis. Like most of the people avoid this fact, but if you do not know how to present your analysis, then probably you are in wrong business, because you have to tell exactly, you need not to tell like what machine learning you have applied, how much accuracy was there, and you should not be talking about like what statistical techniques you have applied, what graphs you have created. It's just about that, can you explain this to somebody who's layman, who's not aware of um, anything, and can you communicate the results to somebody who's not statistically sound or machine learning sound? Can you explain those results in the most easiest way? So communication and storytelling is one of the key skill which you wanted to develop over a period of time if you want to get into a data science domain. Now, how would you apply the step-by-step, like if you wanted to get into data science domain, what are the step-by-step methods to apply data science in your domain, right? And what you do is you pick up data sets, you apply data cleaning to it, and then data cleaning techniques require outlier removal, like creating features, normalizing features, standardization of the features, dealing with outliers, finding out the missing values, treating those missing values, finding out the rare values, dealing with all the values which are constant, finding out the quasi-constant. And then you wanted to go for feature engineering, where you will do feature generation, where you will do elimination of the features, recursive elimination, backward elimination, forward elimination. You wanted to generate new features. You wanted to find out the importance of feature. And then you divide your data into two parts. One is training data and one is new data, which is unknown data sets. You wanted to pick up your training data and wanted to apply the right machine learning algorithm with that training data, and you come up with something called as train model. And this train model is nothing but your mathematical assumption which you have created with the training data with the help of the learning algorithm. And then you wanted to pass your new data, which is unknown data, and you wanted to score like how much like the accuracy of your model is, how much it is able to give you the predictions. And then you evaluate model with various techniques, right? And if required, you want to reiterate the whole thing. You wanted to revisit the concept of your data, like how much data or what kind of data you have. Then you wanted to change the data cleaning techniques, you wanted to change the feature engineering techniques, and then you wanted to revisit the whole concept. Now what next? If you wanted to pick up this as a skill, or if you wanted to pick up this as a complete thing, what are the things which you wanted to have? So you have different tools for data scientists. So I'll start with the first one. You have got something called as Cassandra, right? Which is again a database, right? You have Apache HBase, which is NoSQL database. Now, any NoSQL database is something where you can store almost anything. So be it images, be it a video, be it a GIF, be it a URL, be it a click stream, a data stream, or you have Unix logs, or you have system logs. You can store anything in the NoSQL database. Then you have Neo4j, right? You have got Graph database. You have OrientDB. Different kind of databases are there, like MongoDB. You have CouchDB. Then you wanted to learn some programming languages like Java and Python and R for doing the analytics. And you wanted to learn some operating systems like Linux, and there is a flavor of Linux which is called as Ubuntu, which is also very much helpful. So you must be wondering why I need to learn Ubuntu for that matter. Why can't we use Windows right over here? Why? So all the things which are which are impacting the technology nowadays, they are actually being created for Linux platforms. First thing first, it's open source, it's free of cost, anybody can use it. And the second thing is very powerful. It's very powerful and very robust. Windows is all about the visualization and ease out the things for the people, and that takes a lot of toll on the processing capabilities of Windows. So people wanted to use Linux always, where you have less visualization, but the capabilities are improved like anything in those things. And then we have Hadoop, which is nothing but our big data tool. You have SQL, which is structured query language to fetch out the data from the domain, and you wanted to use that thing in cloud as well. Then you have Keras and TensorFlow, which are the libraries for deep learning, which helps you like do the analysis on artificial intelligence. We have Natural Language Toolkit, which is used for natural language processing, where we give ability to computers to like behave as if they are humans. And then we have OpenNLP and SAS and Tableau. These are, OpenNLP is again natural language processing software. We have SAS, which is one of the tool which is being used by all CMM5 level companies, where you can do almost anything in the data. And then we have Tableau, which is one of the BI tool, which is being used for a lot of like chart reports and creating dashboards, creating stories, and communicate your results. It also gives you a bird eye view of your business, like which means 10,000 square feet view of your business. Now to get started with analytics, there are several steps. Like the first thing first, you need to, like I'm giving you a step-by-step plan for learning all those things. You can develop skills in algebra, statistics, and machine learning. You should start dealing with big data, like learn how to deal with big data. You learn to code, wherein you will learn how to deploy several techniques on the data. Then you master the data munging techniques, and you learn how to create visualizations and reporting. You start working on real projects, right? And some of the like data sets which are open source, you wanted to utilize those data source to learn the prospect and the analysis techniques. And then you want to analyze on real-time projects, and several real-time data are available free of cost on various websites. You can download the data from there and start working on them, and start predicting the results. And you look for different kind of places where you can get more and more knowledges, right? You can just search for blogs and white papers and start learning from there. Don't go for cheap resources. Like cheap resources means that if somebody is giving you assumption that you'll be learning data science in 11 hours or 12 hours, probably he's cheating with you, because you cannot learn something something of data science sort in 12 hours or 13 hours. So it just gives you, you will be in impression that you learn data science, but you know nothing, not even like to a place wherein you can like sit in the interview for 15 minutes. So don't fall into the praise of like where like people tell you that they will be telling you data science in 15 hours or 20 hours for that matter. You also wanted to create your communication skills to a place wherein you can communicate results in a much easier format, and that can happen only when, if you have good communication skills, like when you have understood what you are doing. So if you have not understood the mathematics behind data science, if you've not understood the linear algebra which is going in the back end, you will not be able to interpret the results. And this is one of the like the place people don't they don't focus on it, but they just keep on showcasing that, okay, I know this machine learning algorithm, I know certain terms of machine learning algorithm, but that is not required because your management doesn't understand those terms. All you need to do is to communicate your results effectively, and then you compete either by going into several hackathons, either by going into several the projects, and then appearing in the interview. And then there are several things which are going on in like on the web, where you compete with your peers and try to showcase your knowledge there. So these are the several steps which you want to follow in order to get a good understanding about the data science process, right? So there are various things which you can like look for. Am I audible to everyone? Can I quickly get a response from everyone? Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. So you got all the idea, right? And then you also wanted to master like something which is not written over here. You also wanted to master like the tools, right? Which if you master certain tools, they will give you enough confidence so that you can deal with almost any kind of data. So for example, Tableau is one of them, right? Keras is one of them. Then you have Hadoop as a tool. You wanted to master those tools, understand why we are using a specific tool, and how to master that tool, so that once you get a chance to showcase your talent, you will be able to showcase that talent up to a level wherein nobody can say that you are new to this particular tool, right? You will showcase your talent in a much effective manner. So what you want to do in terms of analytics, right? What are the key skills which you wanted to attain? So first thing first, programming language is one of the things which you wanted to learn. Then I'm talking about the tools, right? And then I'll tell you which tools you wanted to learn. Then you have statistics and machine learning, which you wanted to learn. And then you wanted to go for like data visualization. Now, when I say data visualization, you wanted to learn how programming languages can visualize the data, like Python or R for that matter, or SAS for that matter, right? You wanted to pick up SAS or Python or R or any other language to showcase your data, right? And then you have to have big data understanding. And this is something where you start learning various tools. And then you have to have SAS, right, which is the enterprise level tool for analytics, right? You wanted to go for that. And in databases, when you want to learn databases, you have to have like various databases knowledge, like RDBMSs and NoSQL. I'm just giving you the name over here, but this is the generic name, but there are several tools in the databases, right? And then you want to go for visualization techniques as well. Like visualization techniques are like you wanted to learn some tools which directly fetch the data and start visualizing the results. And then you go for artificial intelligence and deep learning, which is the next level which you wanted to attain in order to become like you become ahead of your peers, where you start implementing certain things in artificial intelligence and deep learning. Now I must be wondering, what are the like these are the skills which I wanted to showcase in my resume, but what are the tools which I wanted to master? So these are the tools, right? So if you pick up programming languages, the programming languages are Python, R programming, and Java, which you wanted to pick up. Now if you pick up Python, then there are a lot of things which are easy for you. like which means that you will be able to gain lots and lots of, like Python is able to help you in lots and lots of tools. If you pick up R programming has got the limited, like applications in various artificial intelligence tools. And then we have Java, which is a must, right? So you should have Java, which is gonna help you in picking up Hadoop, Ubuntu, and Spark, right? So you pick up Python, and in Python, you wanted to learn basic programming language, OOPS concept, and you wanted to learn Pandas, NumPy, and Scikit-learn, which are the libraries for data manipulation, numerical Python, and implementing machine learning techniques. Then you have data visualization techniques. And these data visualization technique, if you're picking up Python, then you can use this data visualization in Python. Or if you're using R Python, then again R programming, then you can also use R programming, but it will generate basic diagrams for you. If you're using Java as a programming language, then you use Tableau for interpreting the results. And then the next level, you wanted to go for Hadoop and Ubuntu and Spark. So Hadoop is again a big data tool. Ubuntu is an operating system, Linux flavor. And then you have Spark, which is used for historical data as well as for streaming data. So you wanted to learn those tools, and even in Hadoop, there are multiple components. So if you have data which is structured, you have Hive component. If you have unstructured or semi-structured or structured data, you will have a pig component. Then you have Flume, you have Oozie, you have Scoop. There are multiple components. Then you have some tool called Apache NiFi, which helps you streaming the data. Then you have Mahout, which is again a machine learning capabilities on big data. And you want to deploy all these things on Ubuntu, right? And you can also pick up Spark there, which is one of the fastest growing tool nowadays, which helps you do a lot of machine learning techniques, not only on the static data, but on dynamic data. When I say dynamic data, I mean to say that you can use streaming data as well. And this Spark is capable of translating terabytes of data per second, right? So just imagine, right? If I ask you to change your dimensions, like for example, if I talk about like how do you store copy one from one drive to another drive. If I give you 100 GB of data, how much time will you take? Probably 5 minutes, or even if your fastest computer, like 2-3 minutes. I'm talking about a terabyte of data which is being captured like per second basis. So Spark is one of the fastest tool. And then there's a SAS tool, right, which is being used by most CMM5 level companies, because SAS capabilities are rare. SAS is one of the biggest tool of analytics, and it's very costly as well. So you wanted to use that tool for analysis. You wanted to learn that tool.
Hello.
Guys, can we mute ourselves, please? Okay. All right. And then we have Cassandra, right? Cassandra, there's different RDBMSs and NoSQL tool which you wanted to learn, which is Cassandra, Neo4j, MongoDB, CouchDB, and HBase. There are several tools they have been used for different purposes. And at last we have Ubuntu, right? And what this Ubuntu does is actually an operating system which can help you realize almost everything which you have seen so far. And it is much faster as compared to Windows operating system. So you wanted to learn Ubuntu, and you wanted to learn the tips and tricks of Ubuntu as well. And for artificial intelligence and deep learning, you wanted to learn NLP, natural language processing. And there are several tools for that. Like one of the library for natural language processing is called NLTK, which is Natural Language Toolkit. And you wanted to deploy deep learning with TensorFlow and Keras. And there are several other libraries are there, like PyTorch is one of the library which has been used. There are several libraries which are being used, but TensorFlow is a generic platform, and Keras is a generic platform which can help you out in artificial intelligence and deep learning. So these are the tools. Maybe you want to take a screenshot of all these tools if you want to go for learning something like this, right? And what All right, so I have given you the whole understanding of it. We have come to an end of the learning for today. And I would like to take up your questions, please. So now I'll be picking up your questions and I'll be answering those questions. So all of you, you have a chat box there. You can type in your questions and I can pick up your question and can start answering your questions as well. Okay, everyone. So please type in your questions. I'll pick up some of the questions which are all relevant. All right, guys. So shoot your questions and I would love to answer those questions. So in the meantime, I'll just explain some of the things, right? So we have a program for which is called as Postgraduate Certificate in Management for Business Analysis. And this is approved by AICT and Ministry of HRD. It's been delivered by Vidya Alankar and All India Management Association, which is 1-year course, which has got 2 months of internship as well, which will give you enough exposure in almost all domains. And I've already reviewed this program. It's one of the best program which we have around, and it actually gives you the capabilities of data scientist, data architect. If you want to go into big data analysis or Hadoop development, if you want to be a SAS programmer or big data engineer. So almost all domains which are related to big data, like data science, is being covered over here. And they also touch upon all those topics which are used in this domain. So if you want to have some information about this program, you can get in touch with the people in this domain. And I'm still waiting for your questions, guys. Anybody?
So I think in the chat box, people have already asked a few questions.
Okay, so let me just pick up some of the questions over here, right? So, okay. So this name is being called as Galaxy J4 Plus, and I am not sure, right? So what is the name? But it says like, what is the view of data science penetrating supply chain management industry? So I guess supply chain management industry is being used by using data analytics for a long time now, right? They are trying to optimize lots and lots of processes, and especially when it comes to delivering the product and it comes to routing the product, they are trying to predict beforehand like how much time it takes to reach one product, and how to optimize the the deliverable process, how we can how much cost it needs to, like, customer needs to pay, so that we can optimize the cost, give them the best product in the time, in very small duration of time. So right, if you just look for if you look for this data science industry, this has been penetrating almost on all domains. Right, so we have one question from Aarti: how is data analytics different from business analytics? So Aarti, they are not much of the difference between data analytics and business analytics. However, their roles and responsibilities are different. Now, when it comes to roles and responsibilities, I mean to say business analytics or business analyst is the guy who is customer facing guy, who's gathering the requirements, and after gathering the requirements, he is responsible to translate those requirements into the company's offering. For example, say I'm with XYZ company and I am a client facing guy. I will be talking to the customers, I will be understanding their problems and their needs, and whatever my company is offering, I will be creating a customized product for that, and then I'll be offered it to my people, like to the customer, so that they can get benefited out of my product. So I'm enhancing the customer satisfaction, and I'm also customer facing role. However, data analytics is completely dealing with data. You may or may not be dealing with the customers or end customers. However, as a data scientist, you generally have stakeholders which are coming up with a problem, and then you are trying to provide the solutions. So business analytics require data analytics, but not all data analytics require the business analysis skills. I hope it is making sense. Business analytics, So business analytics uses statistical processing models, where data analytics use algorithm and automated system to do the same work. So I think Pratik, you also got some answers for that. Data analytics is not uh, dependent completely on algorithms, right? You may or may not want to use data analysis. However, it is desired to have statistical skills for data analytics also. Sometimes, so if I tell you the graph of it, you have CTO, and just next to it, you have business analytics or business consultant. And these business consultant have several data scientists under them. And like, why business consultant? Because business consultant actually know their company's offering, they understand the business better, and they are also responsible for talking to the customer. They can translate their requirement and give them to data scientists, and data scientists deal with several departments, and where people like who are data engineers, they will help them gather the data and generate the reports. And then data analytics people, they do the basic analytics on the data, and then data scientists are the people who are generating the inferences out of it. I hope you got the answer for that. So Apurva, I'm showing you one course over here, which has been offered by Skillville. This is called PG in Business Analytics, which is 1-year course, and you can see the details on the screen right now. And I will also share the contact details for that as well. You may want to take a screenshot of it. Okay, so we have a question on linear algebra. So linear algebra and multivariate calculus important for learning machine learning. Yes, Aditya, it is required. However, you don't want to get into like much of the detail of it. So linear algebra and multivariable calculus, they are required like up to a level where like you can think of 9th and 10th standard of mathematics. That much of level is required. However, bit of some of the places where you wanted to learn little deep. So if you have a guided knowledge, if you're like somebody is guiding you how much to get into the deep, probably that is beneficial. So yes, they are required, and you need some of the guidance over there to, like how much depth you want to get into it. If I were to pursue data science as a career, how are the job opportunities in this field? So we have this question from Sarvadanya. Sarvadanya, so I tell you something, right? Don't believe me if I'm telling you that there are a lot of opportunities. Go to Naukri.com, type in data science, whatever your experience is, type in that experience over here and search for the job. Click on the locations where the jobs are available. Click on the link where it says how much is the, like for 3 to 6 lakhs, how much is the package offering, for 6 to 10, how much is the package offering, and search for all those things. And you'll find that there are jobs which are available for 30 to 35 lakhs as well. Like it's very, very much common. I'm not talking about the jobs which are offering you 75 lakhs or 50 lakhs, but there are several jobs which are available there, which is for 30 to 35 lakhs. I have a question from P. Kerkar, I guess. If I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I guess, Vivek, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So Vivek, would you like to answer this question? I have a question. Do we have any business analytics course for working executives?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, sir, for giving the chance. And I can see participants are interested to know about our PG Business Analytics program. Let me give you some glimpse of this program.
Sure.
So, PKK, first of all, yes, we do have a programs as a weekend batches for the working professionals. We do have a full-time program. The program which you are seeing on the screen is a postgraduate in business analytics, which is approved by AICT Ministry of HRD. This is the first thing which getting a government of India has approved this program. It has been also delivered by Vidyalankar and IMA. I hope IMA will be heard by number of students from the management students. It is a national apex body of the management professional in India. See, this program basically it is aimed for a practical learning. Therefore, most of the concepts will be linked with hands-on training. If you can see the tools and programs and languages and database which also Sudhanshu sir has mentioned and explained each tool, we had included in our this program. This program is a 1-year program which completes as a 12 months of total duration, but it gives you 2 months of paid internship, especially into data science or business analytics job roles. We also provide you trainers not from the education background or something. They are from the data science industry, from the artificial intelligence domain. They will be a corporate trainer, they will be a freelancer trainer. So a very question asked by Apurva, question asked by I think one of the students was asking about the fees details. I like to share our contact details to them. I like to request to them that you can visit to our website www.skillwith.in where you can get the details. Let me tell you one thing more important, students, that this course is not made as like this is only for the IT or a computer science students. As very well said by Mr. Sudhanshu, that it is for all domains. And our today's webinar topic is explain that how all the domains are using a data science industry. So talking about business analytics, statistical processing models, this program is starting from scratch, from your basic Excel to Python to R programming to everything. It also gives you a very well certified as a leading software analytical company that is called SAS. So the students who are pursuing this program, they are getting a SAS certification. And I hope you know that SAS, you can discover insights from your data and make sense of it all. So guys, to get our details, we have given you the contact number. We have given the email ID. You can request to us as and when required. Pooja Hanwate and Apurva, I will not able to share it out the fees details in the open forum. I like to share you can connect us one-to-one, or we'll get a contact details from your, we can call you back. Is that okay, Apurva? Fine, guys. I hope I'm clear with my program, some of the DMs, and I request you all that there is a one feedback form which I'm sharing right now with you. Please complete this feedback form as and when you can get a time. If you can do it right now, it will be okay. There are only simple 8 questions which are required to be completed. This will help us to improve our upcoming future webinars. Now I like to hand over to Priya to please take over.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek sir. See, on behalf of Skillwell, I would like to thank Mr. Sudhanshu sir. Sir, your valuable insights on data science and business analytics and your guidelines about skill cultivations will definitely help our participants to put directional efforts and take informed decisions in predicting their future of career. Thank you, Sudhanshu sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And I declare that meeting is concluded. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Priya.